Welcome back to the Sports Brief. I'm your host, Avery, and across the desk is the man who lives and breathes analytics, Zub.
Happy to be here, Avery. Today, we're going deep into the baseball trade machine, pulling the lever on a hypothetical move that feels both impossible and strangely plausible at the same time.
That's the best kind of speculation. We are talking about a true blockbuster. Houston Astros superstar outfielder and MVP candidate Kyle Tucker being traded to the already loaded Los Angeles Dodgers.
It's a move that would fundamentally reshape the league. So let's start with the obvious side of the equation. Avery, why would the Dodgers, a team that already seems to have everything, mortgage their future for one more star?
Because everything is never enough for the Dodgers front office. It's not just about getting a good player. It's about acquiring a perfect player for their roster. And Kyle Tucker is about as perfect as it gets.
Let's quantify that perfection. We're not just talking about a power hitter. We're talking about a guy who in 2023 hit 29 homers, stole 30 bases, and had an OPS plus of 142, meaning he was 42% better than the league average hitter. He walks, he doesn't strike out excessively for a power guy, and oh, by the way, he plays gold glove caliber defense in right field. This is a true 6+ WAR player in his prime.
A true five-tool player. And the key here is that left-handed bat. Zub, paint a picture for me. What does the top of that Dodgers lineup look like with him in it?
It's a nightmare for opposing managers. You're looking at Mookie Betts, a righty, Shohei Ohtani, a lefty, Freddie Freeman, a lefty, then Will Smith, a righty. You slot Tucker in there somewhere, and you have this perfectly balanced, relentless attack. You can't play the platoon game. Bringing in a tough lefty reliever doesn't save you, because you've still got Betts or Smith coming up. It's a lineup with no weaknesses, no breathing room. It's no longer just about winning a World Series at that point. A move like this is about creating a dynasty. It's a statement that they intend to be the favorites for the next half-decade. Exactly. But now we have to flip to the other side of this coin, which is much more complex. Why would the Houston Astros, a perennial contender, even pick up the phone to discuss trading their best all-around player?
Right, it sounds insane on the surface, but this is where business and baseball collide. It all comes down to Tucker's contract status. He's a free agent after 2025, and he is going to get paid.
And when you say paid, we're talking about a monumental contract. Think about the market. Aaron Judge got 9 years, $360 million. Mookie Betts got 12 years, $365 million. Tucker's agent, Scott Boras, will be starting the negotiations in that stratosphere. You're likely looking at a deal that exceeds 10 years and $350 million.
That's a number that even great teams have to think twice about, especially the Astros. They already have big money tied up in Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, and Framber Valdez. They've built their success on a model, and that model has historically involved letting their biggest stars walk when the price gets too high. We saw it with Garrett Cole, Springer, Correa. It's the core of their philosophy. The front office asks a simple, brutal question. Are we better off paying one player $35 million a year from age 30 to 40, or are we better off trading him a year early for a franchise-rejuvenating haul of talent? Letting him walk in free agency only gets you a compensatory draft pick. Trading him a year early gets you a franchise-rejuvenating haul of talent. Okay, so let's get into the specifics of that haul. Let's build the trade. If you're the Astros GM, what's the first name you're demanding from the Dodgers?
The conversation doesn't even begin without a young, controllable, top-of-the-rotation starting pitcher who is already in the major leagues. The name at the absolute top of that list is Bobby Miller. He's 25, throws 100 miles per hour, and is under team control for 5 more seasons after this one. He's the exact type of player you build a rotation around. No Miller, no deal.
Wow, so you're not just raiding the farm system, you're taking a key piece of their current World Series aspirations. That's a massive price to pay.
That's the entry fee. Next, you address Houston's biggest organizational need, a catcher of the future. The Dodgers have 2 elite ones in their system. You're demanding either Diego Cartaya, who has immense power potential, or Dalton Rushing, who has a more polished, advanced bat. The Astros would get their pick, and either one would become the best catching prospect in the American League overnight.
So that's a young ace and a future all-star catcher. We're still not done, are we?
Not even close. You need more pitching. So you add another top 100 prospect, a right-hander like Nick Frasso, who has electric stuff if he can stay healthy. And then, for good measure, you demand a high-ceiling lottery ticket from their lower minors, a guy like Josue De Paula, who 18-year-old outfielder scouts absolutely rave about.
So let's recap the package. Bobby Miller, Dalton Rushing, Nick Frasso, and Josue De Paula for Cal Tucker. That's not just restocking the farm system. That is arguably one of the biggest trade packages in baseball history. Break that down even further for Azub. We know Bobby Miller is a stud, but what are the Astros getting in the other guys? What's their real ceiling?
Dalton Rushing is the prize here after Miller. He's a catcher with a rare combination of power and patience at the plate. We're talking about a guy who could hit 25 home runs a year from the catching position, which is a massive offensive advantage. Nick Frasso is pure electricity, a fastball that touches 100 with a devastating changeup. The risk is his injury history, but the upside is a frontline starter. And De Paula, he's the wild card. At 18, he's years away, but scouts use words like special when they talk about his bat speed and feel for hitting. If he develops, he could be a star in his own right. It's a package that offers both immediate impact and long-term hope. It would have to be. For the Astros, it's a full-scale reset for their next competitive window, starting in 2026. For the Dodgers, it's gutting that very future for a near guarantee of dominance right now.
Let's talk about the ripple effects across the league. What does this trade do to the balance of power?
In the Northern League, it makes the Dodgers the Death Star. It could demoralize other contenders like the Braves and Phillies, or it could force them into an even more aggressive arms race just to keep pace. It would create a tier of one and then everyone else.
And then the AL?
It blows the AL West wide open for the Texas Rangers and Seattle Mariners. In the wider AL, it elevates the Orioles and New York Yankees. Houston would take a clear step back for a season or two, creating a power vacuum that several teams would be eager to fill.
And we haven't even touched on the financial fallout for the Dodgers. They would not only have to trade for Tucker, but then immediately sign him to that massive extension we talked about. What does that do to their payroll and the luxury tax?
It would shatter all records. Their payroll would push towards an unprecedented $400 million. They would fly past the fourth and final tier of the competitive balance tax, meaning they'd pay a 110% tax on every dollar over the threshold. Their top draft pick would also be moved back 10 spots. It's a severe penalty, but for a team as profitable as the Dodgers, it might be a price they're willing to pay for a title.
All right, Zub, the moment of truth. After laying all of this out, the logic, the players, the money, give me a final verdict. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is the real-world likelihood of this trade ever happening?
I'm sticking with my original thought. It's a 3 out of 10. It's improbable, but not impossible. The logic is sound for both sides, which is why we can have this conversation, but the sheer magnitude of the trade, the number of top-tier prospects involved, and the Astros' potential reluctance to trade a franchise icon to another superpower makes it a massive long shot. It's the kind of move you only see in video games. But it's incredibly fun to think about. The ultimate what-if scenario. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. For Zub, I'm Avery, and this has been the Sports Brief. We'll catch you next time.